You feel the anger, the pain, and the guilt, but you do nothing. Why is learning to feel nothing the most powerful defense you have? This is the dark psychological paradox of emotional detachment, the secret weapon against manipulators that denies them their fuel. So today, we're going to break down one of the most powerful and honestly counterintuitive strategies out there. We're diving deep into how strategic non-engagement becomes your shield. It's a tool that literally tears down manipulative dynamics from the inside out by starving them of the one thing they desperately need to survive, your reaction. And let's be clear, this isn't about being weak or avoidant. It's about a calculated, powerful form of self-preservation. All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. We've got a 6-part roadmap. We'll start with the power of nothing, then define what strategic detachment really means. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty, the mechanism of denial, and the psychological shift that makes it all possible. Then we'll get practical with your defensive playbook and wrap it all up with the big one, how peace is your retaliation. Okay, let's dive right into section 1, the power of nothing. Now, this whole idea is built on a really interesting paradox, one that goes against pretty much every instinct we have. We're wired to react, to defend ourselves, to engage. But in these specific toxic situations, the strongest move you can make is to do nothing at all. It's about strategic inaction, where your silence becomes way louder than any argument you could ever have. So that brings us to the central question, right? How in the world does denying a manipulator your emotional reaction become your greatest strength? It feels so passive, almost wrong. But what if that passivity is actually a weapon in disguise? Think of it this way, a fire needs oxygen. The manipulator's fire, it needs your emotional energy, your anger, your frustration, your desperate need to explain yourself. So what happens when you just stop giving it to them? You don't just put out the fire, you starve it of oxygen completely. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
That leads us perfectly into our second section, defining strategic detachment. To really get this, we have to be super clear on what it is and what it isn't. This is not about becoming cold or apathetic. It's a very specific, calculated mental shift. It's all about changing your role in the drama, moving from being an active participant, getting thrown around in the chaos, to becoming a calm, detached observer of it all. It's the difference between being swept away by a river and standing safely on the bank, just watching it go by.
So here's the technical definition. Emotional detachment is a therapeutic technique. It's about consciously, strategically creating distance. The key words here are strategic, objectivity, and non-reactivity. So instead of hearing an insult and immediately firing back, you strategically pause. You observe the attempt to provoke you, you recognize it as just a tactic, and you choose to offer a neutral, objective response. It's a skill you practice, designed to protect your own mind. And this right here is probably the most important distinction we can make. The goal is not to stop feeling things. Of course you're going to feel angry or hurt or frustrated. Those feelings are 100% valid. The goal is to control the behavioral response to those feelings. It's the art of feeling everything on the inside while choosing to project calm and neutral on the outside. You're taking back the remote control to your own actions.
This slide just nails the difference. On one side, you have the participant. They're hooked, they're pulled right into the drama, and their emotions are basically on a string being pulled by someone else. Every reaction just feeds the cycle. But then, you have the observer. The observer sees the bigger picture. They watch the patterns from a safe distance, they see the bait, but they don't take it. Their emotions are managed internally. And by doing that, they are the ones who break the cycle for good.
All right, so now we get to the core of it, the how. Section 3, the mechanism of denial. How does this actually work? What is the step-by-step cause and effect process that makes detachment so incredibly effective at shutting down manipulation? This is where it goes from being a nice idea to being a predictable, almost scientific strategy. It all breaks down into 3 clear stages. First, you have reactivity inhibition. That's where you hit the brakes. Second, supply denial, where you cut off their fuel. And third, autonomy restoration, where you finally get your peace back. It's a predictable sequence that plays out every time you stick to the plan. Okay, stage 1, reactivity inhibition. Think of this as your superpower, the pause. The manipulator says something provocative, designed to get a rise out of you. Your automatic impulse is to jump in and defend yourself, but this is where you consciously interrupt that impulse. You take a mental breath, and your internal script changes from, "How dare you," to, "Ah, I see. That's the bait. I'm not taking it."
This tiny pause is where you take all the power back. That pause leads right into stage 2, supply denial. See, manipulators are often fueled by something called narcissistic supply. It's just a fancy term for any kind of attention, positive or negative. Your emotional reaction, that's premium grade fuel for them. So when you don't react, you cut off their supply line. And they will notice. This usually triggers one of two things: an extinction burst, where they get even worse to try and force a reaction, or hoovering, where they suddenly get nice to suck you back in. Now, if you can ride out that storm, you get to stage 3, autonomy restoration. When you consistently refuse to give them that reaction they crave, the whole feedback loop breaks. There's no payoff for them anymore. The game isn't fun. And so they're forced to disengage and go look for supplies somewhere else. This isn't just a temporary break. This is you reclaiming your mind, your energy, and your peace for good. So we see how the mechanism works. But why is it so profound? What's really happening deep down in your own psychology? That's what we're covering in Section 4, a psychological shift. This is about more than just changing their behavior. It's about fundamentally rewiring how you see your own power and control in your life. This slide says it all. It's about something psychologists call locus of control. Basically, who's in the driver's seat of your life? In a manipulative dynamic, you're tricked into an external locus of control. Their behavior dictates your mood. Your peace depends on them. But emotional detachment is this massive shift to an internal locus of control. You realize, okay, I can't control them, but I sure as heck can control my response. And suddenly, your peace is self-generated. It comes from you. Okay, so we get the theory, we get the psychology. Now let's make it real. How do you actually do this? Welcome to Section 5, your defensive playbook. These are the concrete, actionable techniques you can start using today to turn this idea into a real-world skill. The number one tactic in your playbook is the gray rock method, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You become as boring and uninteresting as a plain gray rock. When you have to interact, your responses are short, factual, and have zero emotion. They ask a loaded question, you give a one-word answer. Yes. No. I see. You give them absolutely nothing to latch onto. No drama, no emotion. Manipulators get bored very, very easily. So your defensive toolkit really comes down to 3 key things. First, the gray rock method we just talked about. Be boring. Second, non-identification. This is the mental game. You start seeing their attacks not as personal insults, but as predictable patterns. You think, there's that tactic again, instead of taking it to heart. And third, and this is a big one, enforcing boundaries. The best boundary is often just distance, going no contact if possible, so they don't even have the chance to trigger you. But underneath all these techniques is one core mindset shift, and this might be the hardest part. You have to learn to prioritize your own calm, your own non-reactivity, over that deep human need to be understood, or to get the last word in, or to find a resolution. With a manipulator, that's a game that's rigged against you from the start. The only way to win is to refuse to play. And that brings us to our final and most powerful section. Peace is your retaliation. This is the big takeaway. This is the idea that completely reframes what winning even looks like in these situations. It's not about settling a score. It's about making the score completely irrelevant. Think about it this way. Your emotional reaction is their currency. It's what they get paid in. Every angry outburst, every defensive explanation, it's like a direct deposit into their account. But when you master non-reactivity, you cut off their cash flow. You make them emotionally and psychologically bankrupt. So let's wrap this up. We started by defining detachment, and we broke down that 3-stage mechanism. It all comes back to this. Emotional detachment is the secret weapon because it cuts off that narcissistic supply right at the source. It doesn't just manage the problem, it actively dismantles the engine that powers the entire dynamic. And remember that pattern we talked about. Your steady denial of supply triggers the extinction of their behavior. It's a basic psychological principle. When a behavior is no longer rewarded, it eventually stops. By using tools like the gray rock method, you're the one who breaks the loop. You're making a quiet but incredibly powerful statement. My inner peace is not up for negotiation. And that is the ultimate lesson. Forget revenge, forget justice, forget getting the last word. In the strange world of manipulation, you living a calm, happy, and centered life, totally free from their influence, that is the highest and most effective form of retaliation there is. Your peace is the final proof that they have no power over you. And that, right there, is the real win.